In October 2018, Lion Air Flight 610 plunged into the Java Sea. 5 months later, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 crashed near Addis Ababa. 346 people died. Both were Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. These weren't just tragic accidents. They were the direct consequence of a corporate philosophy that had shifted over decades. Boeing was once synonymous with American engineering excellence. Today, it's a case study in how prioritizing stock prices over engineering can literally crash a company. To understand Boeing's fall, you must first understand its golden age. For most of the 20th century, Boeing was run by engineers. The legendary 747 jumbo jet, introduced in 1970, was a monumental gamble that nearly bankrupted the company but ultimately revolutionized air travel. The corporate culture was famously captured by a sign in the Seattle headquarters. "We are in the business of making airplanes, not maximizing shareholder wealth." Profit was a byproduct of building the best, safest machines in the world. This engineering-first ethos made Boeing a national champion and a global leader. The turning point came in 1997 with what was billed as a merger with McDonnell Douglas. In reality, it was a reverse takeover. McDonnell Douglas, a company struggling with its own culture of cost-cutting and financialization, installed its CEO, Harry Stonecipher, at the helm of the combined entity. Stonecipher famously declared, "When people say I changed the culture of Boeing, that was the intent, so that it's run like a business rather than a great engineering firm." The new motto became, "We're going to run this place like a business, focused on profitability, return on investment, and shareholder value." This ushered in the era of the shareholder value revolution. Wall Street's demand for quarterly earnings growth became the paramount goal. Boeing began aggressively buying back its own stock. Over $60 billion worth between 2013 and 2019 to boost the share price instead of reinvesting that capital into R&D and factory modernization. Executive compensation was tied to stock performance, not product quality. The finance department gained power over engineering. The focus shifted from building legendary aircraft for the next 30 years to hitting quarterly financial targets for the next 90 days. This new philosophy was fully realized in the 787 Dreamliner program. To cut costs and speed development, Boeing pioneered an unprecedented outsourcing model. Instead of building the plane in-house, they contracted about 70% of the manufacturing to a global network of suppliers, many of whom had never built complex aircraft structures before. The result was a disaster. Parts arrived incomplete or out of specification. The supply chain was a logistical nightmare. The 787 was delivered 3 years late and billions over budget. More importantly, quality control was outsourced along with the parts, embedding systemic defects that still plague the aircraft today. The 737 MAX tragedy is the ultimate expression of this broken model. Faced with competition from Airbus's more fuel-efficient A320neo, Boeing needed a quick response. Instead of designing a new plane, a 10-year, $20 billion endeavor, they opted to re-engine the 50-year-old 737 design with larger, more efficient engines. This created an aerodynamic instability. Boeing's solution wasn't a physical redesign. It was a software patch called MCOS, which could automatically push the plane's nose down. To save costs, they didn't make MCOS a major part of pilot training. The rest is tragic history. The choice to prioritize speed and cost over a proper, safe design had fatal consequences. How did such a flawed aircraft get certified? This leads to regulatory capture. Under pressure from Boeing to streamline approvals, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, increasingly allowed Boeing engineers to act as designated representatives, certifying their own company's work. The oversight was delegated to the very people under pressure to deliver. The FAA, underfunded and outmatched, became reliant on Boeing's expertise. This cozy relationship created a fatal conflict of interest, where the fox was not just guarding the henhouse, but also writing the safety standards for it. The contrast with Boeing's archrival, Airbus, is stark. While Boeing was financializing, the European consortium remained focused on long-term engineering and strategic industrial policy. Airbus invested heavily in new, clean-sheet designs like the A350. It maintained tighter control over its supply chain and invested in factory automation. The result? Airbus overtook Boeing in deliveries in 2019 and hasn't looked back. Its market capitalization surpassed Boeing's in 2023. Airbus chose a different master, the product, not the stock ticker. Today, Boeing is a company in crisis. Its CEO has admitted the company must acknowledge its mistake in focusing on production speed over quality. But fixing this is a monumental task. Rebuilding a decimated engineering culture, retraining a workforce, and repairing broken trust with airlines, regulators, and the flying public could take a generation. The financial costs are staggering. Tens of billions in fines, settlements, and lost orders. The company is drowning in debt and struggling to produce planes at a rate that meets demand, ceding more ground to Airbus with every quarterly report. Boeing's story is more than an aviation disaster. It's a fundamental lesson in corporate governance and industrial policy. It's a warning about what happens when shareholder primacy and financial engineering infect an industry where failure has catastrophic, real-world consequences. It raises urgent questions. Should companies that build critical, safety-dependent infrastructure be run like tech startups